Alright, so I've had a couple people ask about this and calibrating their receivers, specifically SDRs. So just a note, I'm using a SDR Play RSP1A, so it doesn't have the best bandwidth, and I am hooked up to a resonant antenna on the UHF commercial band, so close enough for what we're doing here. What you want to make sure, first things first, make sure you don't have FMAP on, otherwise you won't see your carrier. And make sure you're on a ATSC pilot frequency. In this case, I'm on 566.309.441. I've been told that this one is GPS locked, so I can trust it. Note in calibrating your equipment, it's always best to go for the highest possible frequency. I mean, when you calibrate to this and you go down somewhere and you look at like WWV, it might be off a couple hertz. But you know, for UHF users, or just you want to do this for free without having to buy a GPS DO and have a 10 megahertz reference and play around with that, this is worth it. So I've got this calibrated right now to this pilot, which we're going to note down this number. Remember, it's in parts per million. To get this menu, you go to your main window, hit settings, go to cal. So I know that my GPSDO that I have, this was the calibration I had on it. So -1 ppm. This is true to my GPSDO. Note on some other things, you want your device to be warmed up, so I suggest like an hour of just sitting and chilling, just letting it do this. Or if you want to listen to some music or scroll around the bands, just do that. Don't do this on a cold start. And if you are using a 10 megahertz reference of any sort, or just any reference, make sure that's warmed up too. And if you have a GPS DO, make sure that it's been on for longer than 12 hours. That way it has enough time to get a good GPS sync and chill. I'm going to be using not a whole lot of technical terms here because I want this to be simple. Simple to understand. So again, this is my GPSDO that I have sitting next to me. This is what the calibration was on 10 megahertz. Everybody's device will vary, so we're going to start off just by blanking this out entirely. Like just leaving it at 0. Okay. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. You can zoom in as far as you can get, which the bandwidth on these things, or the resolution, is not very good. So that'll get you like close enough. But if you really want to get like super into it, you go down to your aux window and you zoom in. You get it to right where it's about at the, I would say give yourself a buffer so you can see which direction you need to move. In this case, we know we need to move negative. So I'm going to zoom into here, and you'll just slowly zoom in. So we're going to start negative 0.5. Now, on a note for this, there are a max amount of, there is a minimum step size. So just keep that in mind. You're not going to get this super accurate. There are some SDRs that have a reference in. So if you have that, use that. But this is just the free way. So 0.5 we know is not enough. And I can kind of just eyeball this and see we need to go like as we saw before, like -6. Where does that put us? That puts us a whole lot closer. So basically, you're just going to zoom in as far as you can like this. And we're going to let that carrier get on frequency. Now, if you absolutely want to, you can put a notch in. You just put a notch in like that to kind of align the peak to the notch. And then your software will do this, which is always fun. I don't know if it's a bug with mine, but essentially what you're going to do is you're going to keep adjusting that until the peak of the carrier moves as close as you can to 0. Now, again, not the greatest resolution, but you can also do it based off of this peak, although you can see it, again, it's not the best resolution, so if it was, you know, a better SDR, you'd probably get better results, but I know that mine was at 640. That basically puts it bang on. The way to really check it is, if you want to fix this problem, I believe you can go off frequency and come back on. It's really weird. If you have any suggestions to fix this issue, or if you know what I'm doing wrong, put it in the comments or shoot me a message, reach out to me, let me know. But that's pretty bang on. That'll get you in close enough for just, listening. Like I said, you're going to see a difference when you go down to the HF bands. You're going to notice that, you're going to notice it might drift. Or there might be a difference. So you might have had you had it bang on in UHF, but you go to HF and it's no longer right there. You calibrated for a higher frequency, higher band frequency. So just keep that in mind and you should be good. And that's pretty much it. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And last note, a little bit of a technical one. The spec for calibration is typically 0.1 ppm at 572.309 megahertz. So that's plus or minus 57 hertz. So just remember, it's a $100, $200 SDR. Don't expect it to be as frequency accurate as something with a reference import or a GPSDO on a piece of commercial lab grade test equipment. But if you found this helpful, let me know, and yeah, have a good one.